Some moments don't end when people stop talking. They replay in your mind for years. Every word, every laugh, every face that watched it happen. Mine lasted less than 30 seconds, but it destroyed a 10-year marriage. My name is Ben, and this is the story of how my wife humiliated me in front of everyone we knew, only to realize far too late what she had thrown away. Melissa and I met in college. She was outgoing, confident, the kind of person who could make friends anywhere. I was the opposite, quiet, reserved, happy staying out of the spotlight. Somehow it worked. For nearly 10 years, we built a good life together. No children yet. A comfortable home, steady careers, weekend road trips, movie nights. Nothing extraordinary, just peaceful. At least it used to be. Everything started changing after Melissa received a promotion. I was genuinely proud of her. She worked incredibly hard for it. But success seemed to change more than just her job title. She started correcting me in conversations, making jokes at my expense, rolling her eyes whenever I disagreed with her. At first, it was subtle, little comments you'd understand if you worked in management. Or, Ben's never been very good with people. Everyone laughed, including me. I convinced myself she was only teasing, but over the next year the jokes became sharper, and somehow I was always the punchline. Whenever I mentioned it privately, she'd smile and say, "You're too sensitive." So I stopped bringing it up. Then came her company's annual awards banquet. Employees were encouraged to bring their spouses. Melissa insisted I attend. She even bought me a new suit, I thought she wanted, to celebrate together. I had no idea that night would become one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. The ballroom was beautiful, hundreds of people, live music, expensive decorations. Melissa introduced me to executives and coworkers all evening. Everything seemed normal. Then the speeches began. After receiving an award for leadership, Melissa was invited on stage. She thanked her coworkers, her mentor, her team. Then she smiled toward our table. And of course, my husband deserves some credit. People applauded. I smiled. Then she laughed. After all, watching someone with so little ambition every day is excellent motivation. The room exploded with laughter. Hundreds of people laughing at me. I sat completely frozen. Melissa kept smiling like she'd just delivered the funniest joke of the night. Then she added one more sentence. If I ever become lazy, I'll just spend a week living like Ben. Even louder laughter. I felt every pair of eyes in that ballroom turn toward me. Some people looked uncomfortable. Others couldn't stop laughing. I wanted the floor to open beneath me. Instead, I quietly stood up, picked up my jacket, and walked out. Melissa didn't even follow me. She stayed, finished the event, celebrated with coworkers. I drove home alone. She arrived almost 2 hours later. The first thing she said wasn't an apology. Seriously? You're upset over a joke? I stared at her. A joke makes everyone laugh. Humiliation makes one person suffer. She rolled her eyes. You embarrassed me by leaving. That sentence changed everything. Not because it hurt, because it made me realize she genuinely didn't understand what she'd done. Over the following weeks, I started noticing things I'd ignored for years. She interrupted me, constantly. Corrected stories I'd tell, mocked my hobbies, compared me to more successful husbands. The banquet wasn't an isolated incident. It was simply the first time she'd done it in front of hundreds of people. I started asking myself one difficult question. If my own wife didn't respect me, why was I still trying so hard to protect the marriage? Instead of arguing, I focused on myself. I joined a gym, reconnected with old friends, accepted a leadership position I'd been avoiding because it required travel. Oddly enough, the more independent I became, the more uncomfortable Melissa seemed. One evening she asked, "Why have you been acting so distant?" I almost laughed. For years I'd been asking that exact question. Eventually I suggested marriage counseling. She refused. We don't need therapy. We need you to stop overreacting. That was my answer. 3 months later, I filed for divorce. Melissa was shocked. She genuinely believed I would never leave. She called repeatedly, texted constantly, even showed up at my office. I didn't think it bothered you that much. Those words hit harder than the original joke. She hadn't realized, because she'd never cared enough to notice. The divorce wasn't messy. No dramatic courtroom battles, no screaming matches, just paperwork and silence. About 8 months later, I ran into one of Melissa's former coworkers at a coffee shop. We started talking, then he mentioned something surprising. Apparently, people at the banquet hadn't admired Melissa after her speech. Many actually thought she'd crossed a line. A few executives even discussed how uncomfortable the moment had been. Her funny speech became office gossip, not because it was clever, because publicly humiliating your spouse made people question her character. I never knew that. Melissa certainly never told me. Almost. A year after the divorce, I received an email, not asking for money, not asking to get back together, just an apology. She admitted success had gone to her head. She admitted she'd confused sarcasm with confidence, and she admitted she'd spent years treating me like someone she needed to impress others by putting down. For the first time, I believed her. People can change, but that doesn't mean every relationship gets a second chance. I thanked her for the apology and wished her well. Nothing more. Today my life is quieter, happier. I'm remarried to someone who celebrates my successes instead of competing with them, someone who speaks proudly about me whether I'm in the room or not. Looking back now, I don't remember the laughter anymore. I remember something much more important. The moment I realized self-respect sometimes means walking away from the person you love, because love without respect doesn't survive. A partner should never need an audience to make you feel small. The right person makes you feel valued, especially when everyone else is watching. And that's the lesson that embarrassing night gave me. Not every public humiliation is the end of your story. Sometimes it's the beginning of a much better one. If you've ever been embarrassed or disrespected by someone you trusted, share your story in the comments below. Sometimes the hardest moments reveal exactly where you deserve to be and where you don't.